My client went from skinny fat to shredded in just 12 weeks. I'm going to explain in this video exactly how he did it, so you can do it too. Let's dive into the first area that I feel is really important for you to understand, and that is his backstory. Now, Adam worked on movies. He was a stuntman director. He had a very physical job. All day, he would work on movies, directing different stunts, super active, always on his feet. However, he could not get lean no matter what he did. He had body fat that was just above his abs, and he could not, no matter how active he was, he could not shred the body fat. He was also training quite often. He would regularly go to the gym 5 days a week and do your typical split, chest, back, legs, etc. But no matter what he did, he could not physically drop body fat. And this created an amount of frustration for him. He just physically could not see what he was doing wrong. Now, if I look at what he was doing, and let's break it down, and I want to go into what I feel personally was not working for him. So his training was not structured in a way that helped him get lean. He would go into the gym and he would do heavy lifting sessions, but he would not focus on other areas such as his time under tension, his tempo, his execution. So what he's not doing is not building muscle. So that is one area that I helped him focus on, is his training program. I created a training plan that allowed him to focus on lifting the right amount of weight through the correct technique, tempo, and placing enough tension upon his muscles. What this did, it allowed his muscles to grow. So when you're in a body recomposition phase, which he was in, this allows the muscles to get enough blood flow, enough tension, and the right load can stimulate muscle growth. If you're lifting too heavy and you're not able to move the weight appropriately, he was just going into the gym and not really having the correct technique, you will find that you're not able to build muscle just like he did. And that was one of his big mistakes. So his training plan was not where it should be. What I did was I created a plan that allowed him to train hard, train often. So I covered his frequency, got him training every other day, so not every day. So I managed his frequency. He was training every other day, so 4 days a week. He was going to the gym every day, so I reduced his frequency just slightly. What is this going to do? It's going to increase your recovery, because if you're training non-stop all of the time and you've got a physical job like he did, well, you're not going to recover, which means that the chances of building muscle are going to be so low, because you're just going to be burning off the calories that you're eating, and the calories that you're consuming are not going to be used for muscle gain if all you're doing is burning off the calories by training too often. So if you've got a physically active job like he did, you've got to understand that training every day is not always the best approach. So I would recommend 4-day split. That would be 2 upper body sessions and 2 lower body sessions, with some cardio on top of that, which I'll get into now. Now, I would recommend 3 rest days a week. These can be every other day, particularly if you want to rest on the weekend. I'd recommend 2 rest days on the weekend and maybe 1 during the week. But what this is going to do is going to allow you to build muscle, just like he did. Now, he started to see the size. His muscles started to grow. He started to see more volume in when he was wearing his clothes. It started to look bigger, essentially. Let's move on to the cardio side. Now, cardio was not something that he was doing that often. He was going out and doing a run here and there. And like I mentioned before, he was pretty active when he was at work. As a stuntman director, he was on his feet for sometimes 12 hours a day, organising movies. Now, that's a crazy, hectic job. That's not normal for most people. Now, cardio, I got him to do zone 2 cardio. Now, if you're not familiar with zone 2 cardio, it's basically taking your heart rate to a certain number that allows you to start utilizing a higher degree of oxygen. So zone 2 cardio should be done ideally I would recommend on your rest days. Let's get into the next area, and that is the diet optimization. Now, one of the biggest, I would say, mistakes Ad was making was he was eating very low calories. Now, he was eating around 1900 calories every day, and given his job was high octane workload, he was eating 1900 calories. Therefore, the amount of calorie burn versus calorie intake, again, is going to be way imbalanced here. So if you're eating 1900 calories, but you're burning off 3000 calories, you're going to go into what's called starvation mode, where your body's just going to start to protect itself and preserve fat, not burn it off. So we have to get the calorie intake right. So what I did was I assessed his needs. I worked out how active he is, what's his height and weight, etc. Then I planned his calories. I sat him at, no word of a lie, 3,500 calories, and he was 80 kilos. It was the most amount of calories he's ever consumed in his life. He could not believe it, that he was now eating 3,500 calories. Now, what does that look like? Well, before he was having ad hoc meals, a big breakfast, biggest lunch, not much throughout the day, and then a biggest dinner. Now, quite ad hoc, and again, you're going to struggle to eat a high amount of calories if your meals are quite ad hoc. So it's really important to get your meals balanced right throughout the day if you're going to be eating more calories, which I'd highly recommend for body recomp. Because remember, with body recomp is you're trying to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. So you don't want to be doing what Ad was doing and consuming a crazy deficit of probably about 60% of his maintenance. Because if he's burning off 3,000 calories a day, his maintenance is going to be really high. So I put him in a small deficit at 3,500. So that means that he can still burn fat and build muscle at the same time. And that's where the optimal threshold comes in for body recomp is you're not going aggressive with your deficit.
Nice.
A traditional cut where you're just cutting back on everything. That's the wrong way to do it. There is times where you may do that. That's not the right way to do it if your goal is body recomposition. We want to have a small deficit. So that's what I did with him. So he had big breakfast, big lunch, he had loads of snacks throughout the day, and he had a bigger dinner. Now, what I also did was I optimized his macros. His protein was quite low. I saw this protein for the day, and it was probably about 30 or 40% less than what he needed. He was probably consuming about 120 grams of protein per day. And to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time, we have to make sure the protein intake is high. What does protein do? It helps you spare muscle tissue, number one. So if you're in a deficit, even though you're in a small one, your body won't start to utilize muscle as a fuel source when you're doing your cardio, or if you have long days doing a physical active job. As you start to lose fat, the body won't utilize muscle as an energy source, which it can do, by the way, because muscle is still fuel and it can be utilized. It can just be burnt off like fat. Okay. It's not as easy for the body to burn off muscle tissue, but it can be burnt off. You just put yourself in a calorie deficit for 12 weeks and just watch how your frame shrinks.
No, God, please, no, no!
You will lose a ton of muscle tissue, which I've seen people do many times, and including my clients who many times before lost loads of muscle by doing many mistakes around going really low on his calories, which I just mentioned. So don't make that mistake, whatever you do, no matter how tempting it is to try and shred fat by keeping your calories low. It just does not work for body recomp. You will lose muscle tissue. You may not see it immediately, but over time, you will look in the mirror and you'll be much, much smaller. And you'll probably see on the scales as well, the amount of lean body mass you may have lost. And if you can do a DEXA scan before your cut, maybe halfway, and it'll show you exactly what your lean body mass was at the beginning and what your lean body mass is now. And it'll tell you if you've lost any muscle tissue. So what I did is I increased his protein intake for the day. I gave him options of where he could do that. Eat more for breakfast, eat more for lunch, or have more protein-based snacks. When he started to do that, he started to feel fuller for longer. He started to have more energy, and he started to just feel bigger. And he started to look like he was putting on muscle, even though he was losing fat. Strange, I know, but that's what happens when you eat more protein. So that's the first thing I did, was optimize his protein, set a protein target and got him to hit it and track his protein intake. Then I optimized his carbs. Carbs are so important. Commonly I see people drop low on their carbs, and he was the same. His carbs would be so low for many years, and he didn't realize why he looked so skinny and still had fat, because his carbs were low. So I got him to eat more carbs, more for breakfast, 1,000 calories for breakfast, plenty of oats, plenty of fruits, lentils, rice, chickpeas, you name it. Afternoon snacks, he was eating plenty of fruit, where he'd normally skip his snacks and just push himself through it. And dinner, he was having a big dinner, plenty of potatoes, quinoa, couscous, or you name it, all the good fibrous carbs. Now, a few more things that I got him to do consistently every week to help him with his motivation, with his progressing, and ultimately understand any points that him and I needed to look at and see every week. So progress photos, I ask him to do every single week at the exact same time, same lighting, to see how his shape's looking. Is he losing fat? Is he gaining muscle? Photos would tell us often. I got him to measure his weight every day in the morning. This allowed me to see exactly how his body is changing, his weight over a period of time. And I used a 7-day average to work out if he's actually losing fat or gaining muscle. And I cross-referenced that with the progress photos to see actually what type of changes have been made. Now, I also get him to measure his circumferences, so bicep, chest, waist. So this is important, because if you're not measuring these areas and you're just going on the scales and you're having just the scales to validate your progress, well, you could be literally losing fat around your waistline, but the scales could be going up. Now, what's that going to do? Well, that's going to tell you that you're losing fat in those belly area, but you're actually gaining muscle because your weight's going up. So that could be a great way to look at body recomp and analyze the data and see your progress over time by measuring your waistline, okay, and how your waist is performing over time. If it's shrinking, then you're losing fat, even if the scale's going up. Trend for the scales was generally coming down, and that's what I was finding with him. He lost fat. He lost around 7% body fat. So he started at around 15% and he got to around 8% body fat. He lost about 5 kilos in total, 5 to 6 kilos in total. There you have it. That is Adam's 12-week body transformation. That's how I got him in formal shape, from skinny fat to lean and shredded. I hope you found this one helpful. If you did, please leave a comment, or if you've got any questions you'd like to ask me about your own personal situation, then again, feel free. I'm always happy to help anyone that I physically can. And you take care, have a great day, and all the best of luck with your body recomp phase. Hope it all works out for you. Bye for now.